have you actually seen Ranveer BRAR on television? He is like so cool, man. He's so good looking. You see all these women flinging their underwear at the TV screen. People who go to restaurants only because they like the buzz, man, don't really like restaurants.
Hi guys, I'm Tarani Sood from the Tastemade India team. Today I'm going to be speaking to someone who is known as one of the foremost food critics in the country. An author, columnist, and the co-founder of the online reservation service Easy Diner, Mr. Vir Sanghvi is known for being someone who does not mince his words. His new book, The Rude Life, is all set to release, and instead of doing a long-form interview with him, we decided to do something fun. So we're digging up some of his old and most savage comments that he's made in the last decade, and we're going to see how he feels about them today. Hi Vir, how are you? It's so nice to have you here today.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're just going to dive right in. I have these cards full of comments that you have made on people over the last few years of your life. Let me just read them out to you and you can tell me how you think about them even today.
All right. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So let's begin. On your love-hate relationship with PRATEEK SADHU. I have known and liked PRATEEK SADHU for years through his many jobs, in brackets, the Land's End and the Leela Bangalore. And he is one of the nicest and most sincere guys in the business. Though I cannot work up any enthusiasm for the tasteless, joyless food he is turning out at this stage in his career.
Yeah, I wrote that, I think 5 years ago, when he just moved out of hotels and had moved into mass, and his ambition was to get onto the 50 best Asian restaurants and to hang out with international chefs. And I think he's got that. But I think the pursuit of that, he kind of lost his way. I've been back recently. The food is top class again, and he's found what he's doing. This
is your take on Manu Chandra's food at Fatty Bao.
I think I know what's coming. All right, go on. Yeah. He's a very close friend, so go on.
As much as I admired Manu, I always knew a day would come when his food would fail to live up to the high standards I associated with him. It happened with the Delhi Fatty Bao, where not only was the service slapdash, but the flavors tasted wrong and ham-fisted to me. Fine, I said to myself, I have found Manu Chandra's weak spot. He can't do Oriental.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you know Manu, but he's this really good-looking, super bright, super charming guy. And no matter what restaurant he opens, the food is wonderful. And at some sort of perverse level, you think, can this guy go wrong? And he went wrong. I mean, Fatty Bao, you haven't quoted the worst part of the review, which was about the crowd, which was, it's a corner of South Delhi that is forever Ludhiana. And he was making this Punjabi type food that appealed to Ludhiana matrons, which was what the whole crowd was. And I don't even know the restaurant exists. But ultimately, he proved me wrong. He opened a Chinese restaurant, CANTEEN, in Bangalore, which is outstanding. So yes, unfortunately, he understands Oriental food as well.
Okay, thank you for that. On the food being better at PEDRO and Bombay Canteen. Ever since Floyd, Yash and Samir had opened the Bombay Canteen. They had become Mumbai's golden boys. The spectacular success of the canteen had been followed by acclaim for their second restaurant, PEDRO, where the food was actually even better than the canteen.
I just genuinely like the food better. I enjoyed it more, and I enjoyed it, since we're on to ambiance and all that. I enjoyed the restaurant because it didn't take itself very seriously. There's a sense of joy and fun about the food, but even looked at objectively, I think the food is better than Bombay Canteen.
On your early impression of veteran restaurateur A.D. Singh. First of all, he looked nothing like a restaurateur, with his designer stubble, and he didn't even talk like one. He favored a slow, laid-back drawl. His manner put me in the mind of a WWF wrestler who was popular at the time, Razor Ramon. In my mind, I took to thinking of him not as A.D. Singh, but as Razor.
Yeah, I introduced him recently at some big function where he was getting an award. And he just looked tense throughout the introduction. And I asked him afterwards, I said, why? He says, I thought you were going to say Razor Ramon. But no, he was. I don't know if you remember the early 80s thing. I think just soul curry in those days and maybe one other restaurant. And he was like so laid back that if he was any more laid back, he'd have keeled over. I mean, he was just very Razor Ramon-like. But of course, he's changed since then. And he's not at all like Razor Ramon. I gave him an award recently for what he's done for restaurants in India. He's really changed the face of restaurants and probably of wrestling as well.
Okay. This is now on RANVEER BRAR. Because he is good looking and personable, I suspect that many people regard him as a mere TV chef. The sort of Punjabi hunk that looks good on TV but doesn't really bother too much with cooking.
Yeah, have you actually seen RANVEER BRAR on television? He is like so cool, man. He's so good looking. You see all these women flinging their underwear at the TV screen. And because of that, you take him sort of like, hey, he must be a TV chef. But when you talk to him, you talk to him about Lucknow food, about the stuff he's grown up on, he is amazingly cerebral, amazingly knowledgeable. So the looks are actually an albatross around his neck. You think, yeah, he's so good looking, he can't be any good. In fact, the opposite is true.
Okay. I don't think I'll ever go back to a restaurant that treats customers with such contempt, does not bother about reservations, and then miraculously finds tables when it thinks this might get into the press. Perhaps the food is as bad as I've been told. Perhaps it isn't. I'll never find out.
Yeah, and mainly because the restaurant then closed down right after the review. But you know what happened? I went in along with several other people. Okay. We all had bookings. We were all kept out. They refused us reservation. And we said, you have bookings. And they said, a booking is no guarantee of a table. It just puts you on a wait list, which I thought was really offensive, as did everybody else. A manager from inside spotted me, came jogging up to the door and said, Mr. Sanghvi, this way, please. So I said, absolutely not. I'm not coming unless you find tables for everybody else. And they said, don't worry about them, so you come this way. So what was I expected to do? Obviously, I walked out and obviously I wrote about it. But there's nothing more unforgivable than you give somebody a booking, they bring their family, they come across town, and you tell them, sorry, we're not honoring your booking. Yeah. I mean, that's unforgivable in a restaurant.
On the restaurant industry's logout movement. Instead, they have fought useless battles over the right to collect a service charge that they don't necessarily pass on to their employees. Or perhaps it is because they have devoted too much time to bragging about how they will refuse to give discounts to customers. You have to be really foolish to believe that such a campaign will make your customers love you.
Yeah, I stand by that. Yeah. I think the restaurant industry reacted very badly to the Zomato, Swiggies. It reacted very badly to genuine criticisms about the service charge. It's launched an aggressive policy of blackouts and boycotts and all kinds of things. Yeah. So you've got a situation now where restaurants are struggling to survive, and Zomato has just gone to the market and raised many, many crores, many billions of dollars. So who's laughing now, Zomato or the restaurant industry?
On the world's 50 best ratings. While I don't necessarily agree with the world's 50 best ratings, in brackets, India is woefully underrepresented in both the global and Asian lists, though Gagan's Bangkok restaurant has been #1 in Asia for 4 years in a row now, and believe that unlike Michelin, they are a little too focused on being trendy.
I mean, first of all, I have a problem with #1, #2, #3. It's an exciting way of doing it, and God knows it makes money for them, it succeeds, but it sometimes is unfair. Also, if you're going to change the #1 every year, as they are, in a sense, you're responding to trendiness, to public pressure. It's not a measure of constant quality. There's also the other physical problem, which is that the award is apparently voted by people from all over the world. There's an academy of thousands of people. There was a time when El Bulli was #1 for several years. Now, El Bulli was a restaurant of 50 covers that was open only for dinner some months of the year. How could the voters have gone to El Bulli in such numbers that they all voted for it to be #1? I mean, they wouldn't have got tables. So, I mean, there were obvious problems with that format. Michelin, on the other hand, the inspector goes anonymously, he gets a reservation, he gets it. So whenever you have these popular restaurant awards or allegedly popular, allegedly voted, and you get these very hard to get into restaurants at #1 or #2, I think there are legitimate questions to be asked.
Yeah, I think we're done with all the questions. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Vir, for your time. It was lovely to have you and amazing to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, I really enjoyed doing that.